folks. Our guest today is David Brenner, and it's appropriate that you're here in the vault today because we're talking about jobs, and you just got a new gig for Westwood One Radio. You're hosting your own show.
Yeah, I took the spot that was Larry King's, 3 to 6 Eastern time. So I took over his radio spot.
And what's that like? It's different than stand-up, of course. You're learning a lot of new stuff, or what
well, there's no audience.
Right.
You know, you do a joke and you're looking at a microphone.
And one guy in a booth.
Yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing funny. I mean, and then you're thinking, was that funny? And you're hoping people in Utah call in and say, oh, that's so funny. But they don't. And you sit there the whole time, 3 hours, and you walk out there and think, was I funny?
And, no one ever calls, Dave?
No one. Well, they call, but they call about other things. They got cramps or something. I got to deal with this. You know, so no, I don't know if I'm funny.
I've done radio too. It is sort of awkward because you know when you're used to doing. I mean, even here sometimes because there's no audience. When you do a joke and it just sits there, you really don't know, and you have to stop yourself from recoiling.
Yeah, and then you have a tendency, because I did so much TV, you have a tendency to straighten yourself out all the time. I'm on radio and I'm doing this.
You're the only guy. You got a makeup girl on radio.
Yeah, God forbid someone in Montana sees a spot on my vest.
Right.
Over radio.
That'd be a funny call. Yeah, we got the joke, but what's on your face? Did you eat something?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what the hardest thing about hosting a show is? Actually easing out of the interview to get to a commercial or a clip.
I'll stop talking.
Well, I'll stop talking too, but we'll be right back with more David Brenner. Here's some more job-related comedy.
David Brenner in a deep philosophical conversation with Jerry Seinfeld.
Hey, Jerry, you ever eat pizza? Why do people eat pizza? Hey, Jerry, you ever tie your shoes? You know when you're tying your shoes, why do people tie their shoes? Who are these people?
Do you know Gilbert?
Yeah, sure, I know Gilbert. He doesn't. I don't sound like that.
Of course not. Of course you don't.
No, I don't. He came on my radio show and he started doing me. I didn't realize. I thought he had a cold or something. I didn't know he was doing me. So then I started doing him.
Yeah.
And he's saying to me in my voice, "You're not doing me." I said, "You're not doing me." So like, man, I'll tell you a Gilbert Gottfried story. Gilbert Gottfried, in the early days before his career took off, had a big audition to Catch a Rising Star. I walk in
to perform at the club?
Yeah, because there were people in the audience who were going to, decide whether he should have this gig on TV. Right. So I came in. He comes up to me and he's talking. He's extra nervous. The eyes are really closed. And I said, "What's my?" And he's telling me, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I said, "Well, you know what?" I said, "I'll tell you what." He was too nervous to go on. I said, "How about if I go on for you? I'll audition for you." And I went on. I said, and the people went crazy because they didn't expect me to be there. And I said, "Please, it's not me." I said, "There's a young comedian, Gilbert Gottfried. I think he's brilliant. He's afraid to come on. This is an audition time for him. I want to audition for him." I did 6 minutes, and I said, "I hope Gilbert got the job," and I walked off.
Did he get the job?
Yeah, and no, they didn't give him the job. They didn't even give me the job.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back with David Brenner after these commercials. How are you, folks? We're talking with David Brenner. Our theme today is jobs, and David is now working on radio. It's the David Brenner Show on Westwood One Radio Network. Now, let me ask you about radio. You get to interview big stars, and you spend a lot of time talking to them, more time than we do on television. Do they open up a little more?
Well, we had David Letterman the first day, Howard Stern, Richard Lewis, and yesterday I had Joe Lando. Well, they open up, they talk. Joe Lando, who's the star of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, a big hit show. Yeah. And he's from Chicago. He didn't know anything about horses first time we got on. And we start talking, and I realized something while I'm talking. I learned from guests. Here's what I learned. As we were talking, I realized that horses, God made a mistake. He knew he made a mistake when he made the horse. Right. I thought of this yesterday. Broccoli's a mistake. The giraffe's a mistake with the neck. It can't talk. It falls down. It's dead. You know what I mean? Borscht is a mistake. It's disgusting. Old people eat it. It dribbles. It's red. When God finished a horse, it's ugly. People think a horse is good looking. I don't know. When I was a kid, if a young girl had a bad face, she'd say she has a horse face. But they think, boy, horses are good looking. Let's say they're good looking. Okay. Right. The beast of burden, God knew it, carrying things, horrible, going in wars, no protection, arrows coming, the horses like this. Yeah. So God, listen to what I figured out.
Okay.
Talking to Joe
I'm with you
God,
right here.
In his infinite wisdom, gave the horse a quality, a unique quality that no other animal has. And you know what that is? I'm sitting there on the radio show and it hits me. The horse is the only animal that can run and go at the bathroom at the same time. Raccoons duck in bushes, rabbits, they hide in little holes. The horse proud. Down the street, boom, 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 keeps going.
But you know, I can do that.
The horse and you.
Yeah. We got a great clip of you doing, what is it? It's from a TV show. I got it right here.
Yeah.
You want to watch it?
Yeah, I don't like watching myself, but all right, go
All right,
ahead.
let's watch this.
You know, you go out on gigs. Now, a lot of, I guess it started with rock and rollers. You know, the rock and rollers, they would have demands. And there's called a rider in the contract. One guy would he only wanted brown M&Ms. They had to separate all the color M&Ms, he only wanted brown. Then some of them wanted a certain kind of wine, a certain temperature. And then they had to have the dressing room had to be blue. And all this like weird stuff. I guess it's, you know, the victims of the acid war of the 60s or whatever it was.
Who won that anyway? You know?
I had no winners in that. No winners in that. Everyone was a prisoner. All right. So now everyone has riders. My riders are very simple. All right. I'm allergic to feathers, so I want a foam pillow. That's one thing. The other thing is I'm 6'2", so I want a big bed. That's it. Easy, right? Easy. So we called up in New England. We said, look, you know, Brenner's coming up there and he needs a big. And I guess they hadn't had a celebrity since Rudy Valley. So they're all excited about this, right? So I get in there, and they're waiting for an entourage. Steve Raymond, my manager, and I walk in, and here's the manager, the owner of the restaurant, all the maitre d's, the clerks, like 20 people. Let us show you the suite we got you. And they take me up, flowers, everything's nice, and I said, thank you very much. And they said, well, look at the bedroom. I go in the bedroom, and I see a bed. It's a bed like this, 6 feet of a bed. And then at the foot of the bed is the foot of another bed going another 6 feet. There's a 12-foot bed. So we had said, if you don't have a king size, put 2 beds together. So I'm looking at it. I said, excuse me, but who's the idiot who put the beds like this? And the manager of the place said, I am. I said, did you think when I toss and turn, I roll up 12 feet? And when I checked out, I said, great stay, Gulliver.
That's hysterical. Now, that's a true story,
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
Very funny. We've run out of time. I want to thank you for coming.
Yeah,
new
thanks.
people out there, you can hear David Brenner's show every weekday on radio stations across the country, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the David Brenner Show. Listen for it. We got to go. There's the elevator.
Okay. Oh, thanks.